What would happen if you gave a teenager with a warped sense of justice the overpowered ability to teleport? You'd get Kang Min-ah, one of the most twisted minds in all of manhwa. A serial killer punishing criminals. A person committing some of the worst crimes with a smile on their face, reveling in the last moments of people's lives. And all this while having a messiah complex, claiming the moral high ground while standing atop a mountain of corpses. In other words, off-brand like Yagami. So after suddenly gaining this power, she first tests out the limits of it. And let me preface this now, she is incredibly careful when it comes to using this ability. She doesn't use it as a normal means of transportation due to the possibility of getting exposed. She also just doesn't steal a bunch of money, as this would make her easy to track down. She herself at the moment is unsure what to even do with it. Well, anyways, let's jump to this guy, Chan-hee and Min-ah getting bullied by these guys, but mainly her. Rua. She's the heir to one of the most influential companies, if not the most influential company in the entire country. And she, Min-ah, is enduring the mental and physical abuse pretty well. That is, until Rua brings up her father, a police officer who died trying to break up a bar fight. This, coupled with her mocking his death, finally makes Min-ah snap. And she teleports Rua over the ocean and then drops her, before teleporting back, while the other bullies had their backs turned. In this moment, she's completely out of breath, probably because of the strain teleporting so far puts on her body. And it also seems like she's panicking, almost like she regrets it, because she did it in a fit of rage. But then we see a sickening smile form on her face. This is our first indicator that Min-ah is not normal. Almost like she's acting to care for the value of life, while deriving a sick pleasure from taking it. The next scene shows a flashback of how Min-ah killed the family pet dog because that dog killed their pet rabbit. And because the dog didn't feel bad about it, a young Min-ah says in tears, "He was living happily after killing her, so I punished him." It's important to know that this scene, early on, is left kinda vague, and some details here are misconstrued on purpose for the narrative's sake, which I'm going to talk about later. But this doesn't really change the point I'm about to make, because I think this encapsulates really well how she thinks of the world. To her, those that have done evil by her metric are deserving of punishment. What actually constitutes evil, she oftentimes really simplifies. Her baseline is, if they are not genuinely sorry and apologize, in other words, repent, those she deems too evil deserve death. Of course, a dog has no concept of right or wrong, and her doing this to a dog could be waved off to a child's innocence, which I think is of course part of it, but I also think they had another reason, and that is to show how flimsy this moral framework I just described actually is. For now, what I'm going to say is that she's almost entirely missing the fundamental principles any set moral system needs to function, but more on that later. Still in the same situation, we are shown one of her other main character traits, her savior complex, as one of the other bullies is pressing Chan-hee at Rua's sudden disappearance. And Chan-hee is being beaten up pretty badly. Min-ah almost feels obligated to help him, like it's her innate duty. She plans on killing all the bullies right there, but the teacher stops them, so she doesn't have to do anything. The next issue that arises is the possibility that Chan-hee saw her teleport Rua away, so she talks to him to get a feel on him. And her first thought when considering that he could know is doing the same to him as she did to Rua. But then disregards that thought, as she doesn't want to be a murderer. But then again she realizes that she killed Rua and wanted to kill the other bullies. She simply does not want to view herself as a murderer. So there's this dissonance between what she believes she is and her own actions. She decides to just watch him for now. But before she has the opportunity to do that, a crazy person starts indiscriminately stabbing people at the place where Chan-hee just ran off to. And he's about to be stabbed, so Min-ah teleports there in disguise. Min-ah sees that Chan-hee's in danger and makes the split-second decision to teleport the man into the sky. In the air, the man slashes her hand, and seeing this, she's reminded of her father's death. She then drops the man and lets him fall to his death, which makes this her second kill. But this time it was in front of everyone. She then pretends again, saying, "I killed again. No way I killed again." All that would be believable if she wasn't making this face. Like, come on, she's not even trying to hide it. This tells us that she derives pleasure from doing this. This is the second time. So now we know that the act of killing itself makes her almost ecstatic. It obviously also ties into her killing a bad guy, which makes the world a better place in her eyes. But now the world's become aware of her existence. Well, after leaving the crime scene, she now has a new problem. Because Chan-hee now 100% knows that she's the one who killed Rua and this man. In their conversation, she admits it with zero compassion. She just plainly says, "Yeah, I did it, so what?" Min-ah says that Chan-hee is stupid for confronting her like this, because she could easily kill him right now. And then she talks as if she's on this moral high horse, saying that she could never kill him and that she only killed them because they were trash. Though in her mind she expresses that she almost just killed him in fear of getting exposed. Like, she's really trying to play it off cool, but she was sweating bullets. All this to say that her moral framework is very loose and inconsistent. Not only because she almost killed Chan-hee, but also because the man she killed was obviously not in the best mental state. This man could have been someone who was mentally very unwell and at some point simply cracked under the pressure. Yet Min-ah called him trash, deserving of death. What I'm trying to get at is, what actually makes someone trash in her mind? At what point is someone deserving of death? It's not like she actually thought about this in the moment, because her reason for killing him was that he reminded her of her father's killer. Anyways, Chan-hee then thanks her for saving him from Rua and that stabber. And Min-ah blushes. Just keep that in mind real quick. At home, she then sees on the news people saying how that mysterious person who killed the stabber was actually in the right and that he deserved to die, as he could have actually killed people if he wasn't stopped. This makes her think that what she's doing isn't just simple murder. She's punishing the bad guys while saving the innocent. And it makes everyone around her seemingly more happy. She understands logically that killing people is an unforgivable crime. But the fact that people comment those very actions makes her view them as justified. And this external validation is what she bases her whole moral system on. It's based on how others feel about her actions, not her own moral compass. Let's just progress a bit forward to when Chan-hee is being beaten up by one of the remaining bullies for not searching for Rua and talking back. Min-ah, again, sees this. This dude is just the stereotypical bully type. That's as far as his character goes. So it's not surprising when he says, "I'll kill you," for no actual reason. Min-ah, she teleports him to a construction site. He falls and breaks his legs. She gives him a chance to repent. He doesn't because, haha, I'm a bad guy. So she just kills him. Personally, I don't think the out she gave him is actually real. She probably thought he would never take it, because the truth is she's deathly afraid of getting exposed. Like, she almost killed Chan-hee for knowing and he didn't even do anything. Maybe it's more of a moral obligation to her, as to not reduce herself to a simple murderer, as she gave the option of mercy. She does the same to another pair of people later, saying she won't kill one of them, proceeds to kill one of them, proceeds to do horrendous things to the other, and then lets him die. Let me also use this moment to say, as much as I love talking about Min-ah's character, aside from her, almost every other character is unbearably one-dimensional when it comes to their characterization. We can take the bully she just killed. He is so flat it almost feels like a caricature. I'll just say everything about him. He's a dumb bully who enjoys causing pain, who was in love with Lua and was part of a little group, which is actually more like a criminal organization, but that's beside the point. He also has a powerful older brother, who's a villain later in the story, who he is annoyed by. And that is all. You can see how this does not really make for an interesting character, because all his character traits literally boil down to, I'm the bully type. He is so uninteresting I didn't even bother to mention his name. Even Chan-hee does not have much to him. Min-ah says to him when she kinda orders him around, "Being an errand boy really suits you, huh?" Don't get me wrong, he has his moments, but they pale compared to the bulk we see from him. He's more of an object to be saved by Min-ah, and is later on literally reduced to a plot device. Even one of the main antagonists, the grandma of Rua, is quite Her character, more often than not, was just powerful, revengeful businesswoman who is pretty evil. Some of the Rua's and Rua's mother's backstory stuff was kind of interesting when she was involved. How she was trying to form them like Play-Doh. But beside that, it felt more like she was just there to make the dominoes start falling than to be her own character. There are some characters that intrigued me, but the fact that the side cast is so astronomically less fleshed out is something that bothered me during the entire read. Essentially what I'm saying is, Kang Min-ah is hard carrying this manhwa. Back to the main plot. This pretty much marks the start of a real killing spree, punishing all those who weren't properly punished by her metric. One thing to mention is that most of the people she has killed were absolute scum. The lowest of the low, those punching down on others who were barely able to stand in the first place. That's why you don't really dislike Min-ah. She's more of an anti-hero. But what I'm saying is that it doesn't matter that they were scum. The moment she became judge, jury, and executioner was the point where this could only turn out badly. And this is not even considering how she justifies her actions. How she also enjoys the act of killing people, and how she lets her morals be persuaded by the outside. Let's just take this. After seeing Min-ah spiraling into being a serial killer, Chan-hee says that what she's doing isn't right, and he vilifies her just the slightest bit. Min-ah immediately tries to persuade him otherwise, showing him the supposed real Min-ah, showing him that she's not a monster. Again, she needs people to think she's a good person, a hero. She craves this outside validation. She then outright says that Chan-hee made her realize that saving people is her duty, and killing others is just a simple consequence. Chan-hee then tries to convince her to stop killing, and after saying it would only end up destroying her, she yields and says I won't kill anymore. But after Chan-hee asks if she can just stop doing this altogether, she says, I don't want to. She does seem really upfront in this conversation, and her being persuaded by a simple conversation is within the realms of possibility. It is just really hard to gauge her, when most of the time she's being dishonest and is just acting. Also, I'll mention this now before I forget it later. Just a bit prior, she didn't even use this ability as a normal means of transportation. And now she has already killed 3 people. And while she plans on stopping to kill, she says she won't stop entirely. All the caution she had is almost entirely gone. Right after this, Min-ah and Chan-hee are kidnapped by the brother of the dead bully kid. The scene that follows is vitally important to her character development. She is blindfolded and has no idea where she is, as she hears Chan-hee being relentlessly beaten and being asked if he did it, if he killed the bully, and this over and over again, to such an extent that it makes Min-ah freak out completely. Literally got her looking like Ken Kaneki. Like this gave me war flashbacks from 2020 AnyTalk. In this situation, she feels completely helpless. She can't teleport because she's blindfolded and unfamiliar with the environment, and she's also gagged and tied up. So she can't even beg for Chan-hee's life. She can only express it in her thoughts to please stop this. This is Min-ah at her most helpless point. She needs to save Chan-hee. In her mind, she's failing in every regard. After they're finished with Chan-hee, they take off her blindfold and gag. She instantly teleports inside of the bully's brother, throwing him across the room. And untying herself, she kills a couple thugs by teleporting them away. Though after being saved by Chan-hee, who took a blow for her, she's beaten to the ground by the brother. And she can't teleport anymore because her head is hurting so much. So in this situation, she's very likely about to die, but is saved by none other than Rua's dad, Soo-hyun. And I'm not exaggerating when saying this. Their relationship, the dynamic these two have, might very well be the best part of this entire manhwa. So after he saves her and beats the brother, he carries Min-ah in his arms, telling her to stay awake. She asks who he is. He says he's a police officer. In her delirious state, it makes her think that this is her father. So she cries and says dad, while passing out. And Soo-hyun says, yes, it's me, your dad. He does it to comfort her, but he also projects Rua onto Min-ah in that moment. So, just for context, Soo-hyun isn't actually a police officer. He's a mercenary brought here by Rua's grandma and is trying to find and execute Rua's killer. And Min-ah, as the one who killed Rua, is obviously the one he's searching for. Based off this, you can see how this is going to get very messy. It turns into this intriguing cat and mouse game. And because Chan-hee is literally comatose after this, their relationship has become the main dynamic, and how I see it, for the better. Soo-hyun then tells Min-ah in the hospital that the brother died. Soo-hyun frames it as if he killed him, but he actually died from the injuries resulting from Min-ah teleporting inside him. Soo-hyun tells her that she shouldn't feel any remorse over his death as he was scum, and he deserved to die. He says that he just served that punishment. This, paired with her seeing Chan-hee in his comatose state, which led to her literally having a panic attack and passing out, and her lamenting over not just killing the other bullies, it's easy to see how this would reinforce her ideals of the bad guys needing to be punished. So she falls back into the pattern of thinking that this power was given to her to punish those that under normal circumstances wouldn't be. But to an extent, it's hard to blame her when you consider that innate thinking is oftentimes categorized in terms of black and white, and how everything that has happened to her has seemingly given her more and more reasons to believe in those faulty ideals. Her near-death experience, Soo-hyun telling her that that man deserved death. It's like the world itself is trying to support her downfall. In a later conversation, which is quite interesting on its own, between Min-ah and Soo-hyun, he finds out what atrocious acts his daughter committed. And of course he proceeds to speak in hypotheticals because Min-ah doesn't know Lua's his daughter. Even if she was my daughter, she still deserved to be punished. Min-ah associates her dad with him. To her, he's a figure she looks up to, a replacement for her father. Him saying this to her does so much more hurt than one can realize. It strengthens those ideals to such an incomprehensible standard. This is to make the point that the story sets her up for failure. But even though this is true, if you want to understand her mentality, what I'm going to say is that this actually doesn't matter all that much. We can understand why she acts a certain way, why she behaves the way she does. The fault very much still falls to her. She's aware of the ramifications of killing people. She wanted to be special. She wanted the recognition of others. She even enjoyed the act of killing itself and acted as though she didn't. She understands that if she kills again, she'd be breaking her word to Chan-hee. No matter how you spin it, from this point on, she's just a mass murderer trying to justify her actions. Trying to put herself on a moral pedestal while walking over people's bodies. Which in itself is paradoxical. But don't get me wrong, she still saves people. Her wanting to save people is real, and an important part of her character as well. When Chan-hee is almost killed, she's in real distress at the thought of failing to save him. But this isn't always the case. In some cases, the intent isn't really different, but it involves another motive that doesn't really stand in conflict with wanting to save others, but is interesting to look at. There's this instance where Mina saves every single person within a burning building. The interesting part is how she saves them. She almost turns the very act into a spectacle, like she's showing off her powers. She wants the eyes of the public on her, seeing that she's a hero that saves people, deserving of praise. It's not just about saving people. She wants to be seen, she wants recognition for the things she's done. Validation is what she thrives on. To her, it's probably akin to a high she doesn't want to end. Like she's addicted to the attention. Besides that, she's become impulsive. Immensely so. Don't get me wrong, she is incredibly smart, but her impulsivity is the very thing that led to her revealing so much of herself to the public in the first place, and she keeps on making mistakes that make her easier and easier to track down. She is tightening the noose around her own neck. What I'm trying to say is she is no genius. She may be practically unbeatable in a one-on-one fight, but she is still subject to getting outwitted. Although almost no antagonist actually tries to capitalize off that. Like, they are actual bums. Anyways, while she isn't a mastermind, she is still very manipulative towards almost everyone in her life. Her mother, Soo-hyun, Chan-hee. She's a pretender in every sense of the word. Most emotions we see her express are just a show she puts on. Something she has learned. Not innate within her, but something she's learned after she killed her family pet. She was partly taught to do this by her mother. To pretend to be remorseful when her father came home. Even her crying here is fake. She wanted to do good for her mother, so this was nothing more than an act to garner sympathy. She was told to do so. We see that she still has the same mindset when it comes to bad guys that she had back then. She also managed to deceive Soo-hyun and his right hand, to an extent at least. In this situation, these three are at a dessert shop. And Soo-hyun's right hand and Mina are talking, and after a while, the right hand is just like, "You'd make a great actress, but you're actually kinda clumsy. Don't try so hard." But instead of freaking out, Mina uses this opportunity to pretend to break down. That she's still feeling the stress from the kidnapping, from seeing Chan-hee being nearly beaten to death. She's veiling the lies and truth, because the breakdown itself is still fake. As much as most of her emotions are just mimicry, she does still experience real ones that peek through this facade. Of course, there's the kidnapping, but beside that, the most clear display of this is displayed in a conversation between Soo-hyun and Mina, and its aftermath that takes on later on in the manhwa. I won't give the specific context, but it isn't really necessary. In this conversation, Soo-hyun tells Mina that he has been projecting his daughter onto her. He says that he's sorry for that, and how the dynamic they have just isn't healthy. She of course acts like it makes her sad being seen as a mere replacement. While internally, she's actually just loving the attention she's getting from her newly established father figure. Well, that is up until he says that this is now coming to an end and that this will be their last time meeting. Mina genuinely doesn't want this. In this moment, she's genuinely afraid of being abandoned again. And how she behaves afterwards in this scene is not manipulation, but her genuine real feelings. Because after hearing this, she immediately drops the act. She tells him how when he first saved her, to her it felt like her father had somehow returned. She has always wished that someone like him would stay by her side. He proclaims that he isn't as kind as she thinks he is, and says goodbye to her. As a result just of this conversation, she starts killing again. I didn't mention this before, but she had stopped temporarily. But her entire plan of not getting caught hinged on her not killing again. This again shows her impulsivity. The moment she realized, oh, he's going to leave me, she immediately did whatever she could to get him involved again. It's desperate. And it's not even like she's thinking clearly, because she's not. She's reverting back to a childlike state. Her mind seems to be literally breaking. And finally, this brings me to the point of her conclusion. Don't worry, I'm not gonna spoil it. However, I believe that the conclusion of a character like Kang Min-ah needs to be handled with the utmost care, as it can make or break the manhwa. And in my opinion, the way her character has been set up throughout the series, it always seemed like it was heading towards a very obvious but logical conclusion. Up until about the last quarter, where to me the story to a certain extent started falling apart. There was this weird setup which I hope was just a red herring, because it came out of nowhere, but it wasn't. It felt like a safety rope for the author so they wouldn't have to end the story in a different way. All this to say, I don't even hate the ending. I think it's fine. If they remove the very end of the last chapter, I would have probably thought it was good. This is basically just me going, I would have done it differently. I would have definitely scored that goal. Like a soccer dad on his 5th beer yelling at the TV screen. Overall, it was still a decent read. The only reason why I even care to critique it so much is because I believe it could have been even better. So to conclude this,